Good morning, everyone. It's Dave with Alaskan Homesteading. Today we're going to continue on the woodshed build. I've got some metal roofing panels that I want to get started installing, and that's going to be quite a process. I've never done anything with metal roofing before. Obviously, I've never built a building before, so this is all new to me. I'm going to do some weird stuff. Probably we'll get some interesting comments if people who've installed metal roofing get a look at what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get started. Panels I'm using are from a company called Metal Sales. They have all of their installation documentation online, so I downloaded the PDF for these Pro Panel 2 panels that shows the panel lap details and fastener patterns for both the field and end of panel. So I'm going to try to lay out a couple of panels, make sure I understand how to tell the difference between the two edges. This one edge has this anti-siphon groove and the other edge does not, and the one laps over the other. So I need to take a look at that and understand what I am doing. Your end is going to be up, so you'll go first. I'm going to go to the far end of the shed. So just starting to lay out the panels and figure out how things are going to sit, make sure I've got them oriented correctly. For example, you can see this is the thing marked as the anti-siphon groove on the diagram, and since we're going to be starting from right and to left because the prevailing winds are from that direction, each next panel will lap over this section here. So that gives us the appropriate shingle effect so that the edges aren't catching the wind. Next thing I have to do is make some marks and figure out exactly where to position the panel so that it's square and get the right little bit of an overhang on the front edge of the roof so that I can have a fascia board up there that gets covered up a little bit. And then measure based on the overlap that I want for the bottom panel and how much overhang I want off the back, probably about an inch or so off the back of this last purlin. How much length do I need to cut off of one of these panels to make the little section that'll go essentially from here to the back. Got the basic panel layout going here. 8 panels across. Fits pretty well. There's a very slight overhang on each end, enough for a little fascia board, and that gable end drip edge is going to cover that up. On the front, I've got a nice consistent 2-inch overhang, again enough for a little fascia board on the front. And this back edge is nice and straight. Obviously this is going to be lapped over another section of metal roof, so that we have sort of a shingle effect. But now I have to mark the spots where I want to line up and pre-drill all the holes for each of the panels, so that they're ready to go. When I get up there, I can just zip the screws right through into the purlin and not be trying to fuss around getting the screw lines straight while I'm up on a roof. Well, the next step here is to pre-drill all the holes so that when I'm up there on the roof, I'm just zipping the screws into the wood purlins, not trying to cut through the metal with the screws. Because the screws that I'm using are wood screws. They are not self-drilling metal screws. It's just the type of screws that this manufacturer provides for this application. Let's get started. As you can see, we have one panel up there in place. We got all the holes drilled, and now it's time to start affixing these panels to the purlins. I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to do this. I've got my impact driver, and what I can't do is put this first row in, because I'm going to have the tail panel to insert under it. So I really need to get up there and start putting them in up at the top first. Better recheck, because I think this might have slid down a little bit. Yep, slid down 3/8 of an inch, so that's not great. The positioning of this first panel is super important, because if it's wrong, I'm going to have errors that add up all the way across the roof that'll be really hard to compensate for. I am just going to put in one of these bottom screws just to hold that in place in the middle, or I can still rotate it to get it straight, and then I'll have to take it back out when I put in the tail panel. The more time I spend on this first panel getting it right, the better time I'm going to have with the rest of this. Alright, that's better. Yes, nice and straight. I'd love to hear from people in the comments about all the things I'm doing wrong, because I'm sure there are plenty, and I don't know, but somebody out there does. I've been watching a lot of videos trying to learn how to do this, and I think I've got a pretty good idea now. But there's always somebody who knows more. trying to be careful not to overdrive these, because I know that is a no-no. You'll end up with deformation that you don't want. I do love this impact driver. People complain about Ryobi all the time. You know, call it Cryobi, and I'm sure lots of other names, but this brushless impact driver works great. And for the money, you really can't beat it. I don't know, maybe I'm just not as hard on my tools as some people are. Even the old junky Black & Decker stuff that I had for years lasted me, I don't know, 15 years. But I am just doing homeowner stuff. So maybe that's why. Normally I'm not really that much of a fan of being on a roof, but sitting here with these purlins and the rafters, I feel reasonably secure that I'm not going to slip and fall through. My real issue is sliding on metal or shingles. That's the thing that really worries me. As for heights, I don't really care. I do a little bit of recreational climbing, and I don't know, being up at the top of a 60-foot indoor rock wall doesn't even register for me as a dangerous position. I guess you just have to trust the equipment, or in this case, the structure that I'm sitting on. Well, that's the first panel installed. I feel pretty good about that. Looks like it's nice and straight. This bottom end is, loose, ready for me to slide the tail panel under. I just have to cut a whole bunch of little 30-inch pieces, and that'll give me a little bit of an overhang on the back too, just a couple inches there. But that piece, that cutting, is going to happen a little later. Right now, I just want to get these panels up here and nailed in or screwed in. Let's take you guys up here and you can see a little closer look. Oops, I missed one. I have to go back and put that in. But not too bad, I guess. First steel roofing panel I've ever installed. 7 more to go for this piece, and then another 8 little tail pieces. Well, I am very satisfied with this. I have gotten all 8 of the main roof panels installed, and it came out pretty darn good. It's nice and straight. I had to cheat a little bit and kind of use a technique I saw somebody else use on YouTube to basically sort of bunch the panels a little bit to adjust for slight errors. But here, have a look. I would say that is pretty good for a rank amateur installing a metal roof in an afternoon. Well, in a day. not too bad. Got my grinder with a fancy metal cutting blade on it, and some ear protection and eye protection, and I'm going to go ahead and try and cut this panel down, get this 30-inch section off, and see how well it cuts. I have enough spares that I'm not too worried about a little bit of a mistake here and there. Well, that cut fairly well. Master metal worker I'm not, but this edge is going to be tucked underneath, so those little imperfections aren't going to really be visible. Although I'd rather not necessarily cut a whole bunch of 10-foot panels down by 3 feet, well, 30 inches, just to keep a factory edge, but it'll certainly look better as a finished product if I do that, because I'm not going to have anything to cover up this edge at the bottom. So maybe that's just what I have to do if I want to keep a factory edge. Cut 8 panels, cut 30 inches off of 8 panels, which I certainly have. I bought 20 something, 21, 22 panels. So I think that might be the thing to do here. As predicted, one slight error. Because of the way the profiles line up, there's this anti-siphon groove over here and not over here. I cut this section from the wrong end of that panel to have it line up correctly with the factory edge showing. I think I'm going to just live with that over on this far back corner of the shed, and this panel will slot right in here. Fits fine. 2-inch overhang off the back leaves me a little space for fascia and, you know, some drip edge underneath there, and then I can just zip the screws in and hold this panel in place. So this ought to go fairly quickly. I should be finished installing all of these panels today. No problem. So I can start tacking this on here, and that's 2 inches. Yeah, 2 inches. Two panels at once. All right, well, that's all the time I have for today. As you can see, I managed to get the entire set of panels installed, and I am just thrilled that I was able to get this finished. It's just starting to sprinkle a little bit. Despite the sun that you can see, we're starting to get just a little bit of rain, so I'm happy to be able to be finished and packing up now. So that's a pretty big step. I now have the roof done. The next thing is going to be to get the ground fabric installed underneath and then filled with gravel. I'm going to have to call a couple of folks and see about getting a gravel delivery this week, and then hopefully it doesn't rain too much, but we are forecast to have rain all week. We'll just see. I don't know. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me. Hopefully one of these days I'll earn your subscription. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.